Hey, how's it going, everybody? So the title of this message today is I just got saved and now my life is a living hell. Oh man. You know how many people go through that? Right? You know how many people come to the message of the gospel? Let's just say you got saved one day. You really know that you just gave your life to Christ. You absolutely are sure about this. Sure about this to the extent that you go home the same day and you start clearing all the things out of your life that you know God would not be pleased with, that you know you cannot take to heaven with you. Like, let's just say, okay, you on your way to becoming a new creation. All right, because there's always going to be a work in progress. I can't make it sound like you get saved one day and then by tomorrow you just perfect. It don't work that way. Look, in a perfect world, it would, right? In a world with no demons and addictions and things like that, it would. But you say to yourself, I got God in my life now. Everything is just happy. You know, I could finally learn how to be a better wife or husband. I could finally be a better father or mother. You know, I'm just so inspired to just do right. I'm a reap the blessings and all the benefits and all of this good, just good is gonna come to me because now God is here with me in my life. Honestly, I'm so glad you see it that way. Let me move my mic out of the way of the camera just for a hot second. There we go. I'm so glad you see it like that. I am, right? I mean, that's a expression of faith. Okay? Keep that. But what I want to tell you is this. When your life just so happened to get flipped upside down, after all the good you thought was coming your way, just because now I have God, now I'm going to get all the good stuff out of life. First and foremost, you are contaminated by religion. That is a contamination of religion. It is false religion that put that stuff in people's head and make people believe that now that you have God, nothing but good is coming your way. But, I mean, the Bible do say that he works everything out for our good. What the enemy meant for evil, God will use for good. But the enemy will still mean things for evil, which means evil will come your way. Right? Just because what the enemy meant for evil, God will use for good, does not mean you won't actively see that evil working. It's just that at some point in time, it's going to be flipped around for your benefit. And it ain't going to always be what you want. It's going to be what you need most of all. Do Christians get what they want? Yes. But a Christian need to change his or her wants to God's wants. That's the only way a Christian get what they want is when your wants become his wants. All of your little secondary wants is just another secondary want. It's just a big dream you have, right? Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and then all of these things will be added unto you. But that still don't get to the point. I got saved. Now my life is a living hell. Man, where do I start? Where do I start? See, I wanted to make this a short. And the reason I wanted to make this a short is because it seemed like the message get out there a lot quicker when it is a short. But I can't say this in a short way. In fact, those of you who want, some dopamine rush within the first 30 seconds, I am happy with only 5 people seeing this video. If you don't got the attention span to see this video through, then honestly, I guess you can suffer. Okay. I guess you can figure it out, right? You got God, right? So I guess you and him can just, do it the hard way. I'm here to give you my years of trouble in one video. So if you don't got the attention span to sit through it because you want somebody to tickle your ears right away, then you just don't look like you can do without it, right? But all I'm trying to do is help somebody whose life might be a living hell right after coming to the gospel, a whole lot less of a living hell. Okay? And this ain't gonna be short. All right? So, a lot of the reason why that happened is because the enemy is upset with you for changing sides. That's first and foremost. You got to consider that. The enemy is upset with you for changing sides. And sometimes he will bring attacks in your life through the form of everyday regular people's problems that seem to be this strange thing that happened to you. And what do I mean by a strange thing? It's like, I can't believe it worked out like that. As soon as I started working on getting better at this, it seemed like this get took away from me. As soon as I'm in prayer every day, asking God to deliver my wife and bring her to the gospel because she ain't hearing me preach to her and all of this kind of stuff. As soon as I ask God to start, working on making my marriage better, it get took from me, right? As soon as I get this job, I lose my car and now I can't get there. That's what I mean by them strange things that happen. And it's going to take for somebody who been there before and probably will go back through it again, like everybody else, to really be able to put that in layman's terms. Because some people really just, it's like you can see it in the Bible, but you just can't make it make sense as far as what that looked like to you, And then another thing, God could be moving stuff out of your way that could bring you right back to the person you were before you received the gospel. Oh, yes. And sometime it's going to have to hurt your feelings. That's just what it is. Now, I know a lot of prosperity gospel preachers and a lot of these, preacher boys and stuff like that. They like to tell you, oh, God is everything's just going to get better. It's going to turn up. Everything going to be on 100, on 10. Sorry, man. It just don't work like that. I'm going to just keep it real with you. And as long as you know it don't necessarily work like that, then that can help you be more motivated and just pushing through it, right? Because if you think it's supposed to work like that and it don't, then you're going to be asking yourself, well, I wonder if I even got saved. I wonder if I even know God. That's what happened to me. That really made me think God didn't like me. It seemed like all these other Christians, they get everything that I need, and everything I got in my life get took from me. I know how it is, y'all. Like, y'all cannot tell me it don't work like that. Because I know I'm not different. I ain't that different than everybody else. But the devil would love for you to think that. God just don't want me to have a better life. God just don't want to bless me, but he bless everybody else. All the false prophets seem to have everything they need and want, but then it's like you really want to be for real with God, and then he just destroy you. Right? Like, have anybody ever thought to themselves, like, how come it seemed like the more closer to God I want to get, the more he just like destroy me? Like, it almost make you feel like maybe God don't like people like that. Right? Like, maybe he just don't want nobody getting close to him, or, be it for real with him, because if he did, then he he got a poor way of showing it. Right? Have anybody ever thought that? Right? Like, have anybody ever said to themselves, it's like, if if God really want people in heaven, then why do it seem like he always give you such a hard time? Like, I know I can't be the only person who actually just think. You know what I'm saying? Just think like, huh? Right? Like, I go over all possible options. I just be like, huh? See, I'm one of them kind of people that's very observant, and I really like to get to the bottom of stuff and figure out what makes it tick. Right? I would take something apart in a heartbeat and be like, I wonder how this really work. Okay. It's called just being a critical thinker. But then in another way, like, your mind could be contaminated. You still have yet to receive a fully renewed mind. And I'm going to tell you something. God is not here to destroy you. You could feel like that when you're going through it, but that's not the point of it. The point of it is you could be on your way to being destroyed, and he need to move stuff out of your life. Like, let's just say, like, this is not due to something you did wrong and you just being chastised for some reason, right? Let's just take that off the table. All right, because everybody go over that. Like, what did I do so wrong? Like, let's just say you ain't do nothing wrong. Well, all of us did and will do something wrong. But, like, let's just say that got nothing to do with this. He could be clearing stuff out of your life that can and will destroy you. You just don't see it yet, because you've been living one way for so long that you really don't know what your tomorrow is even supposed to look like. Like, next year is a total mystery box to you. And you think that just because you in one house today and you got plans for putting new carpet in, and you just got this mortgage, and you on a 30-year plan, and by next month you're going to refinish the driveway. You think that because that's your plan, that's God's plan. And at the end of the day, you said that you surrender your life to Christ, even if that means your plan is not God's plan, and his have to trump yours. Right? You think that just because you've been praying about your marriage, that God wants you to be in that marriage. Like, you could pray about stuff all you want to. God honors prayer. But at the same time, though, it still has to be his will for your life. Stay praying. I'm not saying it's pointless to pray because God will do what he wants anyway. That's not what I'm saying. But it's going to be some things you pray about that God is just sitting there saying, look, I'm going to answer you, but not in the way you want me to. It's a reason why you care enough about this to pray about it. But that reason is because you were designed to do this or have this or be this kind of person. But I just don't want you to do it like this. It's a reason why you praying that God bring your spouse to the gospel, because you just came to the gospel and they don't know they're a child of hell, but you do. Like, it's a reason you saying that you were meant to be a wife, but God just don't want you to be a wife to him. That's it. It's like, yeah, I'm going to honor your prayer and I'm going to set your marriage straight, but it's going to have to come in the form of a new one. So, yeah, I'm going to honor your prayer, and I'm going to get you that promotion on your job, because I know you need the money. I can see, okay? And yes, I can hear. But that promotion on your job is going to have to come in the form of you getting fired first. and then them putting somebody else in that position. And then that person screwing it all up, and then they begging you to come back. And not only are they begging you to come back to get in that new promotion, they willing to pay you $5 extra more per hour than what they were going to pay you, like to begin with if you had the promotion your way. Maybe you getting that promotion is going to come in the form of God giving you a new business idea, right? You want a promotion. I need to make another $10,000 a year, God. I'm not able to afford my way of life. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to give you that extra $10,000. But you going to end up laid off first. And in the midst of you being laid off, you're going to get mad and frustrated and tired of waiting on God to sort it out. And you're going to get mad and frustrated. And you're going to say to yourself, I got to do something. And then idea pop up in your head. And now you make $10,000 a month. Not even an extra 10 a year. 10 a month. But you just got to be willing to go through the fire. That's it. A real believer will go through the fire. Anybody telling you that the reason you got so many trials is because you ain't walking with God the right way, they are a liar. Say that to Paul, who always ended up in prison. Say that to Paul, who been at shipwreck and suffered hunger and got his head chopped off at the end of his life. Say that to him. And I don't think none of us is more righteous than Paul. And Paul, he said, man, bro, Paul, he still didn't reach the fullness of what he wanted to be, what he aspired to be in Christ. Say that to the believers over there in China, having to move and shake underground because of the government. And they don't even know if they're going to be alive tomorrow. All of you, I don't know where all of y'all get this stuff from, but y'all couldn't have got it from the Bible. All of this stuff about, the reason you're going through spiritual warfare is because you're not obedient to God. You are a liar. You couldn't have got that from reading the Bible. If I was stranded on the island right now and all I had was a Bible and it was my first time reading the Bible, I could not come up with the fact that the more obedient you are to God, the less you're going to go through spiritual warfare. I just can't see that. I wouldn't be able to open up the New Testament and discover that. I would not be able to open up my Bible and read the gospel of Christ all the way to Revelation and come up with the fact that as long as I receive Christ, then I'm going to be blessed and have everything that I want. I wouldn't be able to come up with that. I'm not saying you're not going to be blessed, but you're not going to be exempt from trouble. You're not going to be exempt from having to go through the fire. You're not going to be exempt from going through spiritual warfare. In fact, the more on fire you are for God, the more of a target to the kingdom of darkness you become. And you just going to have to learn how to live in the eye of a tornado. You're going to have to learn how to live in the furnace of affliction. That's just what you know as life. And you can do all of that rich. You can do all of that with everything you want. And you can still be in the furnace of affliction. You can still be going through spiritual warfare. Right? I remember when I first got saved, I remember when I first heard the voice of God, it was like a night and day difference. It was almost like somebody finally turned the lights on and I didn't even know I was stumbling around in the dark all this time. I don't know if anybody know what that's like, but just imagine all you know is this dark room. All you get from the outside is either the street light, like let's just say it's always dark, and you just get used to seeing in the dark. And then finally the sun come up after 30 years. You finally know what the outside look like. You like, now hold on, it looked like this out here? I didn't even know there was a such thing as out here. That's kind of what it was like. And you couldn't have told me that that was not God speaking to me. I know that I did not become a new creation from hearing the voice of the devil. I know that I did not start addressing all the sin in my life under the inspiration of Satan. I know that I didn't start picking up a Bible and loving Christ because I'm hearing the voice of the devil. And I'm saying that for this reason. I also finally started to hear the voice of the enemy too. And it seemed like during some of my earlier years, every time I would go through a trial and I would start doubting God and, just like I didn't even have to doubt God. I could be trying my best to hold on to what faith I do have. And it's like the voice of the enemy would just pop up, start saying things to me in my head. And I would hear it. Like I wouldn't hear it just as clearly as I hear myself in the headphones. But hearing stuff spiritually is different than hearing stuff physically. But I would hear it. And these words would be legible, as in like I can actually make this out and write this on paper as far as what I'm hearing. And I would hear stuff like, God doesn't love you because if he did, he wouldn't have done this. Oh, if God really loved you, then I don't see why you would be going through this. What purpose is this for? And then I remember at a point in time when, I remember when he told me to leave, when the Lord, like he just kept pressing on my heart, just kept doing it. And he's like, I want you to leave this job and I want you to live by faith every day. Remember that business idea I gave you? I want you to do that. First, I ain't want to do that. First of all, I didn't want to. But he just kept saying, look, I will take care of you. I got you. I got you. I want you to just live by faith. I need you to experience what that's like. Every day of your life, I want you to live by faith. That's it. Go put in your 2-week notice and we gonna go on a ride. I did. Business started off well. The whole reason I didn't want to do it from the beginning is because when before I got saved, I tried to start a business and came to ruin. And I'm like, no, I'm not about to, like, I just got this job. The last thing I'm trying to do is like, it's come to ruin all over again. Like, I'm fine here. Like, I make enough money. Like, I'm not unhappy with what I do for a living. But he still wanted me to do it. And business started off fine, but it seemed like every time the winter season started to come around, I would struggle financially so bad. So bad. And I'm like, this is exactly why I didn't want to do this. This is exactly why I just did not want to do this. And I will always hear like the devil getting into my head. God hates his children. Now, how could he love his children and he can't see you going through this? I would hear it for real, and it'll start making me feel weird, right? Not weird as in uncomfortable, but weird as in like I could just sense this dark cloud taking over me, and I just right like so like I'm about to look like exactly what I would feel like. So just pay attention and watch right now. How I would feel would be more so me looking like this. I would feel that way even if I didn't look like that. And I just be sad and regretting my decisions and all of that kind of stuff. And then it's like I would hear this still small voice. Just trust me. I will take care of it. Do this right here. Like, you got the number to that temp service in your phone, right? Call them. I call them. Well, hey, we looking for people today. Can you start today? I'm like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. I got some money at least. You know what I'm saying? It's stuff like that would happen. But after I think this is probably like my third or second year, I would say. And I had just started cleaning carpet for an apartment complex. And I did thousands of dollars worth of work for these people. And finally, they write me a check. You know, I remember struggling so hard just to even be able to afford the supplies to even get more work done. You know, I would call people like, hey, you think I can borrow $10? Like, I'll give you back 30, you know, and I like it'd be the closest people to me, making my life so hard. You know, like they'll loan me $10, but then I have to hear about what they did for me almost every day. You know what I'm saying? It's all like I didn't pay them back, right? And everybody would just make it so hard for me to just get help from them for right now until I can get this check. You know, I did wedding photography for people that just didn't pay me. And I would find myself begging for money I worked for just until I could get paid my first check from these people. Like, why am I begging you for money I worked for? You know what I'm saying? Like, I only need food today. Like, enough cleaning supplies to get the rest of this work done. And then they finally wrote me a check after all that headache. And they wrote it in the wrong name. And it was one of them checks that had to be mailed in. They didn't just print them out right away. And I'm like, now this is great. After all that suffering I did until I got the check, y'all write it in the wrong name. And I can't even cash the check. And so, you know, I was still at a point in my life when I was still trying to get myself together. Then I would go get trying to get another bank account, stuff like that. People wouldn't give me a bank account. And I was going through it, man. I'm like, this is crazy. And it's all because I listened to God. Like, look, you gonna go through stuff like that. I promise you will. Like, you are not alone. And I remember going for a walk downtown, and I went and revisited the place where I gave my life to Christ. And I was really sitting there thinking, like, did I really even give my life to Christ? Or is this some kind of practical joke? Like, I really thought some spiritual joke was being played on me. I'm not lying to you. I'm not making that up. I honestly thought that multiple times. Like, this has got to be some kind of like demonic joke being played on me right now. Right? I did think that. And I remember just being there sad, crying. And I went for a walk down by the water, and I just laid on the bench. And I fell asleep, crying downtown. right by the river on the bench. Well, I ain't fall asleep yet at this time. And I was wearing this bracelet that somebody gave me. It was like one of them rubber band bracelets. And it said, when the going gets tough, in God I trust. And I used to wear that bracelet all the time. And I would hear the voice of the enemy popping up again. Because he know when you're going through a trial. And he just trying to test you to curse God and die or something like that. And he'd pop up again and be like, man, you might well just take that bracelet off. You've been trusting in God and it seemed to just get worse every time you do. Man, just take it off and throw it in the water. Like, what's the point of that? And I'm like I really thought about doing it too. I'm like, you know what? And that make a lot of sense. Like, that make plenty of sense. But then I'm like, no, like I know it's just a bracelet, right? But what would that say to God? Right? I can't imagine facing the judgment day one day and he'd be like, so why you throw that bracelet in the water? Like, what? You remember that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to answer for that, even though it sounds like a small thing, but still, like, that's a heart condition right there. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna just keep the bracelet on, right? Like, if the bracelet is pointless, it, like, you know, like, I guess there's no point whether it do or don't go in the water then, right? So, no, I'm gonna just keep the bracelet on. Forget all that, man. I'm not about to do that. And I wouldn't do it. And then I heard the voice of the enemy again. He said, you might as well kill yourself. Look, the bridge right there, the water right there, you might as well jump in and die. Like, it ain't no point in you being here. You might as well just go kill yourself. And I wouldn't just hear one voice at a time. I would hear like multiple of them. It was almost like different devils would start taking turns saying different things. And I'm still pretty new to being saved, right? And a lot of people say, man, you have some demons. It's like, people say Christians can't have demons. That's a lie. Because who do you cast demons out of? Unbelievers? Didn't the Bible say that deliverance is the children's bread? Didn't the Bible say that when the unclean spirit goes out of a man, you know, he walked through dry places and then he come back and he see the temple empty, swept, and garnished? And because nobody occupied the temple, he do what? Come back with 7 more worse than himself? Right? Like, you cast a demon out of somebody that don't believe, you making them worse than they ever was. Bruh, the only people you should be bothered with casting demons out of is unbelievers or people who are seriously suffering. Christians can have demons, but with the Holy Spirit wouldn't occupy a temple like with a devil. It's like, that's what he's there to take care of, right? Like, bro, look, like, he ain't gonna come in when you clean. How can you even get clean? You know what I'm saying? Like, the Holy Spirit occupy a different part of the 3-part nature you made of. Like, you made of a 3-part nature. Holy of holies, inner court, and outer court. Like, you made of a 3-part nature. That's the human body. Body, soul, and spirit. He said, in your patience, possess your soul. Which means what? Through your life, through walking with Christ, the Holy Spirit is going to lead you to cleaning out your soul. Which means what? Your only way of even dealing with demons is like through the Holy Spirit. Like, you really can't tell me that I'm crazy. I've been there and came out of it. And it was after that I started recognizing a lot more the difference between God's voice and some unclean spirit. And I don't have that happen no more. Like that was years ago, right? Like I can go through a trial and all I hear is the voice of God, like struggling or not. You know what I'm saying? But that was during my earlier times. And I would say to myself, the devil's out to get me. The devil really out to get me. He really just tried to get me to kill myself. That's crazy. Don't nobody in my life know that. Nobody. You know, some people in your life, man, they really think that they just giving you a hard time that you're going to eventually forgive them for. You know, some people think that they always get a pass for how they treat you when you're struggling and, you know, but a lot of people don't know that some people can be like 5 minutes away from just saying forget it and just jumping off a bridge. Like they really don't know what somebody has had enough of. And I say that to say this, don't purposely make nobody life hard. And there's a lot of people that I know personally who I would love to say this to, but I can't. But if you one of them kind of people, like if you in a situation when you can help somebody, either do it and don't give them a hard time about it either, or don't do it if you the kind of person that would give them a hard time about it. Like I would have been better off without other people's help than to have other people's help and then getting stressed out about it. It's like, I told you I'll pay you next week. Well, I need my money today. It's like, but you just gave it to me today. I ain't even spent it yet. Like, I don't even see the point in even, bro, like you gave it to me knowing that I told you I'll give it to you next week. And not only will I give you your funky little 10 back, I was going to give you 30, 40, 50, whatever. Heck, I got multiple thousands of dollars due me right now. And you stressing me over 10? You know what I'm saying? It's like people don't be understanding. Right? Like people don't be understanding. Like they don't know who they be messing with sometimes. They really just be thinking like, well, because I'm doing better in life than you, then that mean I got the right to mistreat you and you supposed to just take it because you need my help. I don't need yours. It's like what you really don't know is I got a check for $1 million right now, like waiting to clear in the bank. And you struggling just as bad as I am in other areas. And I could be your way out of that. And you gonna say that to me? For real? Okay. Like, you know, like people don't be getting it sometime. But after I heard that, man, I really started to take spiritual warfare and stuff like that a lot more seriously. It's like my eyes got really open to that. You know, since then, stuff got better. Yeah, the check eventually cleared and I was able to get a bank account and they wrote me a different check. And by the time they wrote me a different check, I already had more of them in. I'm like, I don't even need the check now. I mean, I still need my money, but still, you know. But God, he will allow you to experience stuff like that, especially if you really did come to the gospel for real. Especially if you really did seek the Lord for the Holy Spirit. Think about everything the prophets went through. Think about everything the apostles went through. Think about everything Jesus went through. And you think you ain't gonna go through? Like you think you ain't gonna have stuff like that happen to you? Just really sit here and think about that. Like, why do you think the Bible even tell you about the furnace of affliction and fiery trials if they ain't gonna be fiery, right? Like, bad enough is a trial, but a fiery one too. Like, how much worse could it get? No, it's gonna be fiery. As much as I can tell you, you know, you just got saved and you struggling with this. Like, you trying to even believe, if you even believe. I know what it's like, but all I can tell you is this. I can't tell you how to get out of it. Sometimes you ain't got a way out of it. You just got to go through it. There's no formula to me. Okay, how can I end the trial in my life? Sorry, but you're not going to find the answer. Right? Like, you can't even pray or get an answer. Lord, how can I end this trial? Sorry. You just going to have to go through. Like, you scheduled to come out of this next month. But right now, you are ordained to suffer this for a reason. There's things you need to learn. Especially if he called you to a particular office or something like that, you really gonna go through. I mean, he called you as a prophet. Man, you ain't about to be walking around here like the prophets y'all see in these churches these days. No, those warlocks with a cross around their neck. And I ain't talking about me. You know, a lot of people wear crosses around their neck. Jay-Z will have one on, you know. And you think you're going to be a real prophet and you're going to, you know, drive a Cadillac and have a Jerry curl and walk with a gold cane and demand everybody's money, or else God going to get you like everybody else is, right? Now, think about what the prophet Hosea went through. I mean, like, look at what his wife did to him. Like, his wife did him dirty, all because he didn't have money like that. I mean, the prophet Hosea, he busy in himself with serving God, doing everything God told him to do. I mean, he couldn't really keep up with selling his pottery down at the marketplace, earn money, and his wife down there looking at all them men with the gold bracelets on and all of that. And she like, I want the finer things in life. And this man of God is just not giving me that. And she leave him. All because she care about the stuff in this world more than she care about honoring God. Right? She threw a whole marriage away over stuff in this world. And then she got sold into slavery. Her life became a living hell. She got sold into slavery as a prostitute. All because she chasing after the finer things. And he had to purchase her at the market in front of everybody. The prophet Hosea had to buy his wife back in front of everybody. And he went through that. For what reason? To give you a prophecy about what Christ was going to do for us. He had to buy us back. After all we did to him. And he still said, I'll buy him. It's like, me? Well, I just fornicated yesterday. You want me? Yeah, I'll buy him. In fact, I'll give you everything I got. I'll give you my life in exchange for yours. It's like, me? Well, I'm an adulterer. Like, you know what I'm saying? But, man, the prophets had it hard. I was just going through the book of Ezekiel the other day, and it's like God told Ezekiel to lay on one side in front of everybody, lay down on the ground on one side for 300 plus days straight, just to give them a message. He had to go through that. And you want to be used by God and you don't want to go through nothing? You're crazy. Look, don't nobody want to go through something, okay? But what matter more to you? One day is aspiring to let God use you. Let him have your life and do what he want. All of that sound good when, right, you think about doing miracles and stuff like that and, you know, being blessed and everything. But them fiery trials, though, and some of the stuff ain't even trials. God is using your life to tell a message. He's using your life to put a message in you. It's a reason why a lot of the stuff I say on my channel, some of it got a common theme to it, right? Like look, all you need to do is listen to about maybe 20 of my videos and you would notice some of them got a very common theme to the overall message. It might be a different message, but it sound like you went through a particular thing in your life that really drive the reason why you say what you say. All messengers of Christ are like that. Like I listened to this one channel and I've been listening to this guy's videos since like 2020. And I started noticing something common behind what he say. And something said, man, it sounded like he went through a lot of toxic relationships. Right? Like he trying not to say that, but yeah, it sounds like he has some toxic people in his life. Like it sounds like he been up to here with females. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm sure them wasn't dudes, you know. but still. It's not always a way out. It's a way through it, though. And I'm not saying because it ain't always a way out that means it's going to go on forever. No, but like you can't just push one button and make it all go away. Like there's no 10-step formula to this. Like you can't make God do anything. I remember when I was going through, right, like my very first experience with this, I just got saved and now my life is a living hell, right? Day one. And this was over something serious. I don't really want to say it though. I prayed about this every day and then God just took it from me. I'm like, what in the world? What was all that praying about? Just to have it ripped right away. Like, what did you do? Get tired of hearing me pray about it to the point you like, you know, just take it. I'm tired of hearing this. Like, sometimes you really start thinking that though, but that's not what happened though. And I went to sleep very angry at God. I was angry. I'm like, how could he do this to me? How? All I wanted to do is live a righteous life. I don't see the point in all this crucifying the flesh and seeking first the kingdom and just to get hell in return. Like, look, I'm just trying to make somebody's bad days a lot better, okay? Like I'm in this with you, man. Come on, like I'm going through some of that right now. I'm going through something I ain't never experienced in my life before. I'm like, how could this happen like this? And instead of whining and pining away, I'm like, you know what? Like in the midst of this, let me help somebody else who could be not really used to experiencing this, who could be having a real hard time with this right now. I went to bed that night and I seen the Lord in a dream. It was the scariest thing I ever seen. The scariest thing. I don't know what I was dreaming about at first. I was first having a regular dream. I can't even remember what it was. Then next thing I know, my dream turned into like something just as real as me sitting right here, right? I'm like, but I didn't see him first. I was in this room. I didn't even tell you what color the room was. It was almost like a goldish, like a brown, almost like what the inside of the temple could look like the inside of the first Hebrew temple. And I seen all of these figures walking around, and they were like fretting, like they were scared, like they were like these ghostly like men. Oh, but they weren't ghosts, but they were like these white, like naked. I mean, but I don't mean naked as in like private parts, but they didn't have clothes, hair, nothing. And they were scared. They were saying something I never heard before until I started reading the Bible. You're going to hear me say that a whole lot in a lot of my videos. You probably already have. I started hearing this in my heart before I even found out that it was in the Bible. I seen this in a dream and didn't even know that what I just dreamed about is exactly what's in the Bible, right? And they were saying, woe is me, I am undone. Woe is me, I am undone. Now, I don't just think up stuff like that, right? Like, not one person is just, woe is me, I'm undone. Look, I had no reason in the world to dream that, saving for it had to been a dream from God, because that phrase right there is in the Bible. I believe book of Isaiah or Ezekiel, one of them. No, I just got done going through the book of Ezekiel. I ain't find it there. So must be Isaiah somewhere. And I'm like, what's going on here? Like, they were scared. Like, they were so scared, bro. They wanted to like cry and scream, but also like be mad. Like, you know how the Bible say there's weeping and gnashing of teeth? It was almost like they were like they just couldn't contain how angry they were, but also scared, but also sad. And it was all trying to come out at once. And it just couldn't, and that's the way it was coming out. And I think they were on their way to hell. I honestly do believe that, because there is no other reason why they would say that. But when I was there in front of the throne, I was my regular self. I had color, clothes, everything. And I'm like, what am I doing here? I'm in front of the judgment. I'm sitting right here in front of the judgment. But like, I seen Christ sitting on his throne. Okay? Do anybody want to know what color he was wearing? Anybody? It's a reason I wear these colors on my necklace. Okay, I don't wear this necklace for no reason. Okay, I didn't make this because I just liked matching all these random colors together. They all matter to me. Like, have you ever noticed that these 3 beads right here were bigger than the rest of them? That's for a reason. That's the color he was wearing. Maybe he had the rest of these colors, the purple and red too, but I do remember these for sure. I remember it like it was yesterday. And the outfit he was wearing was the high priest garments. The actual Hebrew high priest garment. I didn't even know that is what that was. And I seen that in a dream. And it wasn't until a year later that I discovered, like, wait, that's what Jesus was wearing in the dream. That's crazy. The same colors, everything. It's just that the red and the purple, those are like they don't stand out as much as the blue, gold, and white did. Okay? And I can't even say if I remember him having the breastplate of judgment. I think he did. But just the colors and the overall look of the outfit is what stood out to me the most. I'm not going to make up stuff that I don't remember. Okay. But that probably could have really been there too. And he looked at me with compassion, but he also looked angry too. But like his anger wasn't shown in his facial expression, right? It's almost like he didn't have no feelings at all. Like he get ready to send them to hell and he don't feel nothing about it, right? Like y'all sitting around thinking God is gonna give you a pass because of his feelings. Like y'all are in for a rude awakening if you think that God's feelings is gonna move him all the time, because he can send people to hell right now and he not even blink his eyes. Like he really can. And he were getting ready to send all of them little spirit beings to hell, and he wasn't even looking at them, but he was looking at me. But I knew he was angry because I was able to tell all of that by something that his eyes was working on me. Like his eyes, it's not that his eyes looked angry like this, but just when I like he was able to communicate to me just by looking at me. And I could tell that he could see through me and see everything about me, and he didn't even have to say a word. I could just look him in the face and I knew he knew everything about me. I'm like, oh no, I can't believe this. I'm in trouble now. Oh, I done it now. I thought I was about to go to hell. I'm not lying to you. I did. I thought that I died in my sleep and I was on my way to hell. I really did, because all of them other beings was. And I'm like, the only reason I'm here is because I am too. But I think that he looked different to me than what he looked like to them. Like, I think they saw him in another way that I was able to see him, because he appeared to me as a high priest. And I didn't even know that that's what that meant, right? Because the room looked just like the temple. Like the outfit is the high priest outfit and everything. And he looked at me and he said, like, he didn't say nothing but one sentence. Like, he didn't talk to me about the problem. He didn't say, you need to trust me more. He didn't say, you did this wrong, or just nothing like that. He didn't do none of that. He said, I understand that you don't understand, but I'm the one that's fighting for you. I heard his voice. I seen his face, everything. And I ain't going to tell you what he looked like, because that's going to start some controversy here on my channel. And I don't want to be the one to start up a problem about that. If I'm going to start up a problem, it's a lot of good stuff to cause problems over. But that, I'm not. And I know it'll make a lot of people mad if I told y'all what he looked like. And it's a lot of people that's going to be like, see, I told you. And I'm not going to have that here. All right. And then I woke up from the dream. Oh, I forgot to add, too, that I went to bed drunk that night. Yes, I did. And I didn't have that dream because I was drunk. Everything I dreamt was right in the Bible, literally. But it was real. I'm not lying to you. That was for real. And I should have been hungover that morning. Should have been. And I was totally sober. Like, I was so scared the next day. I didn't want to say nothing to nobody. And in fact, I was already like that from meeting them the first time. When, like, he started, like, communicating to me the first time, I was already scared. Like, I didn't know a whole lot about the love of God. All I knew is that God is terrifying. And there's no way that I want to go back to being the person that was on his bad side. You know, I haven't even come to knowledge of what the love of God or anything like that was about. Like, I ain't got there yet. All I knew was I need to get right before the judgment. That's all I knew. And then to go through that too, on top of that, man, I was terrified. All because of how I responded when I was going through a trial. And I'm telling you, he understands that you don't understand. But he's the one that's fighting for you. You don't think he is because you think there's a much better way to fight for somebody. Like, I'm sure God could have came up with any better way to do this. No, he know what he's doing. You just need to believe it, right? Like when that lady hit my car that night and totaled it, I knew dang on well God know what he's doing. That's why I wasn't mad at her. She was trying to fight my mom. She tried to fight my wife. And I wasn't mad at her. I knew like that was like a lot of people be like, see, like that was the devil attacking you. I'm like, no, it wasn't. No, that wasn't the devil attacking me. Everybody wanted me to be mad. I'm like, I don't know how to be mad. I know exactly why God letting this happen. I personally know why, exactly why God let this happen like that. I do. I don't want to talk too much about that, but I just let it happen. I'm like, you know what? I ain't even about to put up a stink about this. God knows what he's doing. It's going to take you some time to go through trials before you get like that. I mean, you can't just imagine yourself to be that way, right? You can't just start practicing on how to be. Like, you can do that, right? And that might be great. But it's going to take you some experience of seeing strange trials happen in your life before you just like, look, it is what it is. Like, God sees this. You know, I mean, what can I do? You know what I'm saying? Like, he know all about this. It ain't even no point in me, you know, doing all this whining and pining and flipping and flopping about this. What will that solve? What? And I'm gonna also tell you something too. And this is something else I learned. Sometimes your trials won't end until they stop becoming a secret. I seen a lot of trials in my life end when I stopped keeping it to myself. So if I can leave you with this right now, like y'all been listening to me for an hour and almost 3 minutes. If I could leave you with anything that could allow this to end, that is one thing that I noticed. I remember going through some things and I was so dang on mad. I started complaining about it on Facebook. And then it's like all of these people came out of nowhere trying to help me. And then it's like the whole thing was over from that point on. You know, I mean, maybe it was over because I failed the test. I don't know. It just went on too long, right? Like I didn't do anything wrong except say what's going on. So it's not like I did something sinful. I just let everybody know exactly what was going on. I'm like, hey y'all, I'm going through this right now. Please keep me in your prayers. And it was just over. I've seen that a couple of times. Sometimes somebody else need to know because God want to use somebody else as a blessing. You know, like your trial can be somebody else's way of being a blessing. And then that might put you around certain kinds of people, put you in situations that you would have never once been in. You know what I'm saying? It worked that way. I've noticed that happen. But other than that, y'all, I think I kind of made the point clear. You're not the only one. Especially if God has a very high calling on your life. You might not see it because you don't see yourself that way. People been telling me this for years since I was a teenager. God has really got something he want to do with you in your life. I'm like, me? Come on, man. I'm a cotton picking nerd. Like, I never been anything, really. I have been, but like, I don't see myself like that. And then after I get saved, it's like, oh, I can see God want to do something powerful through you. I'm like, now why would he do that? I know so many people that's so much more godly than me. I know people that fast more than I do. I know people that pray more than I do. I know people that's doing this Christian stuff better than I am. And he want to do something mighty through me. I would love it if he did, but all I'm saying is I can't see it. That's it. But I'll still be open to it. Like, I would love it if he did. Like, bring it on. But at the same time, it's like, man, I don't even got a place to stay. And God is going to do something great through my life for real. I can't even get a house. Man, but since then, I really quit thinking about that. It's not that I don't think about it like that. I just don't think about it. Like, if God want to do something, he want to do something. If he don't, then he just don't. I'm not worried about nothing, really. There's stuff I do care deeply about, but I ain't putting too much weight on it. It's like I'm open for what's gonna go on. That's it. Right? If God used me like to ruin everybody's day, I guess he just do that. If God used me to do something awesome, I guess he just do that. If he used me to go install a sink for an old lady who don't have kids or grandkids, like I think that's great. Like, that's a great thing to do. If he used me to shovel snow for somebody who would have otherwise slipped and busted their head, great. And if he used me to prophesy to the world, I guess that's cool too. Another thing, sometime in the middle of these trials is when God do want to use you the most. It was through one of the roughest times in my life. I had to live with my brother. Didn't want to live with my brother at all. Going through relationship problems and all of this kind of stuff. And like, that was the first time God used me to do a miracle. It's through one of the hardest times in my life. Now, normally I wouldn't just go around talking about it, but I'm actually trying to help somebody here. That could be your season right there. It's when you ain't distracted. Like, you ain't loving everything else more than God because you ain't got nothing anyway. It's when you ain't got nothing else to do but pray. You ain't got nothing else to do. Like, that's when God really wants you out in the battle. It's a reason you in the position you in. It's not just cause God don't want to do nothing better with your life. Like, he just got you on some assignment, and it had to happen through normal everyday life stuff. Like, he put you in a certain place for a reason. If you homeless and gotta move to the homeless shelter, there's homeless people there who he want to get to. Like, who else he gonna use? Somebody at one of these churches where they taking everybody's money and giving them a false gospel? And I ain't saying all churches is like that. It's just too many of them. But you come to Christ for real and you want to sit at home in a bubble. Just listening to Bible studies and sermons all day. Like, what kind of life is that? He wants you out in the field. But you just got to be open to being used by God. Just be open-hearted about it. I ain't saying you got to go and pray and tell them. All I'm saying is you just got to put it on, right? Like it's something you just got to turn on inside of you. Just be open to it. Usually through the worst case scenario of your life. That's when he want to make himself real through you. But sometimes it's hard for you to know that because you're too worried about what you're going through. Stop being too worried about what you're going through and just put it on. God, look, like no matter what's going to go on, I'm here. Use me for your glory today. I ain't got a house. I ain't got a car. I ain't got a coat. And I ain't got a plate to eat or a pot to pee in. But you know what? I can still preach this gospel. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes that's what he wants you to do. For real. Ain't got a car. Why do I say it like that? I don't know. It just sounds funny. That's it, man. I mean, this is this is for these people that's got it hard right now. I probably got it worse than you do right now. I do. Like here I am trying to get all my little jobs done, riding a bus. Don't know how I'm gonna get a vacuum somewhere. I don't know how I get this stuff done every day. It just happened. And I gotta somehow shoot a movie pretty soon. A freaking movie, man. And you ain't even got a car. It's like now, if you could go and install baseboards, paint houses, do move out cleanings and all of these other stuff, and you ain't even got a car. Like, what make you think you can't shoot a movie without a car? I guarantee you it's going to be somebody that want to play in one of them movies with a car, and they'll come pick you up. You know? It is what it is. God make a way out of no way. But, like, you need to be in positions to know that. Like, we all want to sing, Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God. Like, how do you know he a waymaker if you never even got put in the positions to see that? So in other words, you singing a lie. Well, I mean, it ain't a lie, but it's a lie to you. God to make a way out of no way. Nah, you really don't believe that. Stop lying. Because if you ain't allowed to get put in positions for him to show you that, then you a liar. Okay? Like, let's just be honest. And if you don't like the sound of being a liar, then just accept the fact that you in one of these positions when God is really about to show you that he can make a way out of no way. And that's just something you got to put on, right? Like, you ain't got to go pray it. Oh, God, I believe you can make a way out of no way. Like, that's not going to get him to do it. Like, he knows he can make a way out of no way. He don't need you to say it. Like, he know that already. You just got to put it on, right? Now, if that's what you want to say in prayer and giving honor and thanksgiving and stuff, totally fine. But don't let that just be something you pray. Let that be something you walk in. Let that be something you put on. I'm sure it's a word for it, but I can't think of what that is. But I call it just putting it on. I promise you, he ain't gonna leave you hanging. He ain't never left me hanging. I might have had to hang on out there, but he never just left me hanging. Like, that don't mean you won't end up hanging, but he ain't gonna leave you that way, though. Just happens. It is what it is. And this is a scripture a lot of y'all need to remember. Okay, and I know that this scripture might not fully explain this, but a lot of people think about all the things they can't do and the stuff they don't have and how they got it so hard in life and God just ain't doing nothing. And foxes have holes, birds have nests, the Son of Man have nowhere to lay his head. Wait, who ain't have nowhere to lay their head again? Who? Who was that again? Like, the Son of Man, Jesus. It is enough that the student become like his master. And if he went through that, you're going to go through similar things. You're going to go through stuff that's just as bad. But other than that, I thank y'all for listening. Tune in to more videos. Hit the subscribe button. I hope I helped somebody out today. Peace.